Alrighty, and welcome back to the SuperCoach Gun Show. I'm your host, Nathan from SuperCoach Guns. And with me today, I have Herald Sun BBL SuperCoach contributor, Damo. Damo, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm not doing too badly, mate. Had a pretty good round score of 776, so moved up the rankings again after my slow start to the season. So yeah, doing well.
That's good to hear. And with me today as well, I've got Swiz from SuperCoach Insider. Swiz, how are you going?
Mate, all right. I'm burning the midnight oil from work, so we're a little tired today, but we're getting there. 663, my disastrous BBL season continues. So, one for those people who are further back in the rankings. I've probably been giving them more advice than some of the top people, but that's all right. You know, everybody needs some advice out there. So, we'll get there next season.
Yep, that's the spirit. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've sort of mentally checked out of achieving a top 1,000 rank a while ago. I don't know, languishing at around 2,500. Anyway, let's get straight into it. So we're going to look at the Supercoach Hub community results. We've got 3 people in the top 100 overall. Team Damien, run by Damien Ma, who's obviously pretty well known on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. And then not in second, but in second in the Hub overall ranks, we've got Milgarn, run by Peter. He's 33rd overall. And then we've got Fading Philippi, who's run by Russell, sitting in 39th. Top scores of last round. Magic KD, which is ran by Michael, got 804. And Lexington Big Shots, which is ran by Mitchell, got 802. We also had 46 of the Hub overall group in the top 1,000 overall ranks. So it's been a very good season for the Hub so far, and let's hope that continues going into the final round. Well, let's get into the round that was round 8. We had the Hurricanes and the Strikers going up against each other in game 1, and well, I think the big surprise for me was that Jake Weatherald returned from the dead. Like he hadn't fired a shot in the Big Bash for around the best part of 3 or 4 years, and he comes out and scores 80 or 30. Were you as surprised as I was that he can still bat?
I wasn't that surprised about it. Like, you know, any player on their day can get going. It was just more frustrating because I think a lot of us with Overton, as Overton owners, were knowing that he was probably coming in next and didn't get a look in because, of the way Jake batted. But I think that can always happen. Yeah, it's kind of that last hurrah, precious off, and just go out there and you know that I guess that last career saving innings where you've just got nothing to lose. So, and he's always been able to do it. It just obviously hasn't able to do it for such a long time. But they bowled in the right areas for him, and he dispatched them.
Yeah, Paddy Dooley was bowling absolute nude nuts at him. He was just half tracker straight into the stands. It was rough viewing.
Dooley's been bowling what I've been bowling the last 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, my neck's pretty sore, so I'm sure his is as well.
Yeah. Matt Short, he fired for those who vice captained him. I think people who vice captained him would have been hoping for a higher score than 88, but like you take that for sure. I know a few people didn't loop on him. Did either of you guys vice captain him? And if so, did you execute the loop?
Yeah,
I
the
had
88.
him vice captain.
Yeah, the 88 was too good to take in a single game week.
Yep. Swizz?
Yep. Definitely loopholed him.
Yeah, because I did notice a few people went for like a bit of a ballsy move and went on Maxi's captain, and then when he only bowled himself one over, yeah, that kind of backfired. Nikhil Chowdhury, his role just keeps getting better and better. This time he was batting at 5, and well, he certainly bowled better than Dooley. He's definitely their leading spinner in that game. But I guess we've only got one more game for him in the regular season. If you didn't own, would you be tempted to bring him in as a bit of a pod, or are you just going to stay away and say you missed the boat?
Yeah, you just missed the boat. That's just the way it is now at this point. Just quickly about your Short vice captain, and interesting, I think there was only 4, maybe 5 scores higher than him this weekend anyway. So as you said, single game round, 88 was just too good.
Yeah, definitely. Damo?
Yeah, I think if you don't have him, you missed the boat.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, I was fortunate enough to start him as enough, right? And so I've been blessed with very playable option most weeks. But his role has been very good and something to monitor going into next season if he can maintain that, I guess.
He had
Game two. Yeah, sorry.
he had ripping form coming into like his Premier cricket up in Queensland,
Mm.
and I had him into all my draft sides until he got not named round one, which was very frustrating. So, like, I think if he was there, his ownership would have been way higher at the start of the season.
For sure, because you're talking like a $42,000 bat bowl. Like,
yeah,
everyone buys that.
Smashing Premier cricket, like, yeah.
Yeah. Now we'll go to game two, the Sydney Derby, Sixers and the Thunder. We talked on the show last week about Steve Smith being a big pod and something that not many people will go through. A few people did, and a big fat duck egg from him. First baller as well. I was a bit surprised watching that. Did any of you guys get on Steve Smith? And I mean, I hope not for your sake, but did you?
No, I know a few people that did, but I did not. I did not want to pay up 275k for a bat-only player. I know Andrew Langley, the past 2 years winner, was saying that he would back the selection and would even vice-captain him. I don't think he went through with it in the end, but a few people got stuck into him for not backing up his advice.
Yeah, I just didn't make sense, the pick to me. Like
Yeah.
at that price, when you've got a guy who's it's if he had a double game coming up, then you could justify it, but not when there's other all rounders who have just got better roles at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. And it would have been a big gamble. Like, had it come off, we were sitting here saying those coaches are geniuses, right? But it is a big gamble and possibly an unnecessarily big gamble in the end. I think, particularly at that price, But hey, hindsight's a beautiful thing. Stephen O'Keefe, he wound back the clock, 3 for 12 off 4 overs. Gee, that Sydney deck, ever since that Test match finished up, it's gotten quite a bit slower. I don't know if there's any more games there though this season, but yeah, Sock keeps on keeping on.
Probably could be a final there.
Yes, there could be a final. Yeah.
Depending on how all these results finalise, but yeah, you're completely right. The spinners have been going to work there, and O'Keefe, Tanavir, they look the class above bowling on that pitch, but they've gotten so much assistance, so there was no surprise there at all. And it seems to be a bit like this, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in the next upcoming games. But these players coming close to retirement or who are retiring, again, nothing to lose. Just go out there and enjoy your cricket. And it's the same as like when we're in the footy season. Like, how often do you see players with like 1 or 2 games to go play some of their best career matches? Because it's just like, well, I'm just out there having fun. So, and that's exactly what Sock did.
Yeah, that's right. And he just always seems to bowl that long length where you just cannot go after him. It's amazing how consistently accurate he is. Now, this isn't a point on the game, but, well, kind of is actually. Who stood out for you guys from the Thunder ahead of their double game round to finish the season? Anyway, Damo, who stood out for you?
Can I say no one? Like, the Sydney Thunder are a pretty dire side at the moment, and not having much to play for in the final round. How consistent is that 11 going to look?
Yeah, that's a good point, because you've got Kohler Cadmore, who's only playing 1 game in that double. You've got they're trying some of their younger players as well. It's not, and none of them are really reliable picks outside of absolute mainstays like Sams or Warner or Chris Green, I suppose. Swiz, any Thunder candidates stood out for you from that game?
Well, I've had him for a couple of weeks now, and that's Nathan McAndrew. So he's the one I'm actually really tempted to vice captain this round. Just because, he is actually bowling much better than what Sam's is. He's only coming in just because of the way they're playing their lineup. They're really playing one batsman too short. I feel like sometimes with Sam's coming in at 6, where he probably should be coming further in the order. So you see times McAndrew's sort of coming in 7 and 8. So I don't mind that, just because the fact he's in better form than what Sam seems to be. In saying that, Sam's with a double game probably comes out and scores 200, but it's just yeah. So he's the one, and I kind of do agree with Damo there that they probably will chop and change some of their lineup. Yeah, it's sort of hard to get excited about the Thunder. Tanavir, at least, they're going to back him in and play 2 games. Liam Hatchett's had not a bad couple of weeks, especially this week. He looked all right. You can see them giving him an opportunity. But, yeah, outside of that, like you'd say there's 5-6 players who are just like not even worth discussing.
Yeah, there's a lot of irrelevancy in that lineup, particularly in that middle order. Like, there's no one really firing there. And their bowling lineup, there's a lot of speculative picks as well. We'll move to the third game of the round. That was the Heat and the Scorchers. Now, I didn't see much of the final over of the game, but all I do remember was that Ty was on around 50 points. Then I went for dinner. Then I turned my phone back on, and he's on 150. And I see he's got 3 wickets in the final over and conceding just about no runs. 146 points is ridiculous in a game that was dead and buried, and he got 100 points from the final over. Any of you blokes have him?
He was the one that I held from the double game week. With no Jai Richardson there, I felt Jai Richardson could get rested at some point in this final few games anyway. And Ty at the Optus Stadium deck, he just dominates every single time. And with no Richardson there anymore, he's going to get some pretty important overs, and we know that he can deliver.
Yeah, that's right. Swiz?
I reverse traded him out for Richardson to take Tanavir's score. So I'm like, well, 66, is Ty really going to go more than that? Probably going to go maybe similar. And I was always planning to sort of try out this last round if he wasn't going to perform. So I was like, oh, well, I'll take the 66 points. And that also, obviously, Richardson, that makes the captain loophole for short. So and in the end of the day, it was just a disaster. And I think I came off for cricket at drinks, and I had a look, and it was probably about the time where I saw Ty on about 50, and I was like, okay, that's not too bad. He's probably going to score similar to Tanavir anyway. And of course, that last over was just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's right. I think, I just can't get a read on him this season. He hadn't been doing all that much for most of the season, and then when everyone thinks he's done for the season, no worries. He's had his time in the sun for SuperCoach. Bam, 150 out of nowhere. Lance Morris is continuing his excellent form at Optus Stadium. He's averaging in his career 74.6 points a game at Optus Stadium. Obviously, that's inflated by a fifer, but he backed it up with another 92 yesterday. He's also not very highly held in the top 5%. Only, I think it was 8.5% from memory. Would you consider Lance Morris as a pod over some of these Thunder guys?
He's going to have an important role without Jai Richardson available for the last few games, but I just don't think he's worth bringing in at his price for a pod move. I think he'd be better off banking on someone who probably has better form, and his form at Optus Stadium is pretty good, but I just don't know if against the Sixers if he'll be able to back it up week to week. And we saw in the double game week he got his fifer, and then the week later he only scored about a 20 or 30 points. So until he can do it game to game, I don't think he's worth bringing in, because we don't know if he's going to back this up or if he's going to drop a stinker.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Swizz, what are you thinking there?
It's an interesting one, because their game's probably the one game that is really relevant this weekend, where they're playing for second place in that home final. So it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of these Perth players, with the importance of the game, play really well. But there's so many good players in this match, and because it's so relevant, how much does I know it's not like your traditional AFL Supercoach where players can all score 100 or depending on how it is. There's no maximum to what a player could score in a game like this. But I just do think it's such two good really teams going against each other. So do I see the Scorchers like ripping through the Sixers to the point where they're going to get cheap wickets at the end? Probably not. Like that Sixers batting lineup is much more solid than others. If they were playing somebody like the Renegades or the Thunder or the Hurricanes, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely jump on, because he not only could take top order wickets, but absolutely junk it at the end. Where I think that's probably a little bit different with the Sixers this week.
They do bat very deep because you got Ben Dorshaw's coming in at 9 or 10. They've got a long lineup. But yeah, I don't mind the shout, but I think you've both made some good points. Strong batting lineup. He has been a very volatile this season. It's a risk. It's a big risk, that's for sure, as most pods are. But I think there's more safer options, such as one we'll get to very shortly. Now, Paul Walter failed to fire one last shot in his final game of the regular season, only 31 points. Had the opportunity, bowled 3 overs, including the last over, and batted with plenty of time remaining in the game and runs. But yeah, only managed 31. I assume we all had him. What are we doing with Paul this week? Are we selling him?
I don't actually have him, so it's probably been a bit of the story of my season, that.
I'm getting rid of all my Heat players for Thunder players. I only had a couple of them, but a 31 from Paul Walter isn't actually too bad in a single game week. But I mean, it's lower than what he's been producing. But I don't think 31 is a fail to fire. I think it's a blip on the radar at the wrong moment, but it's not. But I don't think it's a fail to fire, because he still got a wicket and then he got a little bit of runs. So 31. If you got that from a bowler, that's a wicket and a bit of eco rate bonus. If you get that from a batter, that's 21s and a bit of eco rate bonus. So it's not too bad.
No, it's not too bad. It was more so like, failed to fight in comparison to what he has been doing. But yeah, no, 31's not terrible. It was just, I probably expect too much of my players. It's probably the honest thing. Final game of the round. We had that last night. It was Finchie's farewell, Stars and the Renegades. Probably not the way Finchie would have wanted to go out on a personal note, getting a duck, but he got his win in his final game. Interestingly, I guess that means he's definitely not playing at the final game of the Renegades regular season. Probably wanted to finish up at Marvel Stadium, I suppose. It's been one hell of a career from him.
Oh, been an absolute legend of the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, and then as well, speaking of people that are looking to finish up, Shaw Marsh. There was some rumours going around that Shaw Marsh might be finishing up after this final game. He was hesitant to confirm or deny it in the post-match interview, but regardless, he's got 350s this year. There's only a couple of other players that have done that. He still looked as good as he did way back when. Yeah, I just enjoy watching Shaw Marsh bat. I don't know about you guys.
He might be that when you ask about players to trade in this week, he might be at my top of my list, because he just keeps getting it done. And yeah, just it's funny with some of these batsmen and that they're timeless. And Sean Marsh, just that he just comes in, gets to work from ball one and delivers. As you said, he's got the 350s. He's up there as one of the highest scoring. If he played the whole season, he might be of the top scorer and get the old yellow hat here. So playing against the Thunder, he'd be every chance to go out and get another 50 this week.
Yeah, for sure. He's so confident in his ability still, and even at his ripe old age, in cricket terms, he's still showing up these younger players who are apparently in better form.
Yeah, exactly. Like every shot he plays, it just looks very technically correct, and I guess that's really a reflection of him as a player throughout his whole career. He was always so technically correct, and he was one of my favourite players growing up to watch. And yeah, he will be missed if it is his final season. Akil Hussain, he went well, 74 points, I believe, as a absolute super pod. He gets to play on the dust bowl that is the Showground Stadium against the Sydney Thunder. It's a bit of a spoon bowl, I guess you could say. I suppose we were talking a little bit about a pod before in Lance Morris. Do we think Akil Hussain's the better pod, despite him being 40k more expensive?
Teams are going to get
Against-
this guy out. I was going to say teams are going to get this guy out for the whole season next year.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure.
he could be a massive difference.
And against the Sydney Thunder at Sydney Showground Stadium, I wouldn't look cockeyed at you if you decided to go for him over a Thunder player, even though the Thunder have a double game week.
Yeah, like I know I myself I'm considering this move very strongly. I haven't got it in right now, but yeah, I'm really tempted, really, really tempted because it like Ashton Agar got 2 for 6 there. Cooper Connolly got 3 for 20 there. Chris Green also got decent figures there. They're all finger spinners. There's no reason to suggest that Akil Hussain can't back that up. Or can't, he might not fully reach, 2 for 6 or 4, but it's not unrealistic to say he gets 2 or 3 wickets at this ground.
100%.
Yeah. Now that's the round that was. Let's look forward to the final round of the season. Who are our top 5 trade targets for the final round? I'll start with you, Damo. Who have you got for us?
Number one for me is Daniel Sams. I just think for a double game week with the Thunder, you have to have him. We'll probably bowl 4 overs. We'll bat top 6. Every chance to knock out a 200 pointer, but also every chance to knock out 20 points across both matches. So, but it'll be a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of selection. And I think he's number one to bring in. David Warner at the top of the order there for the Thunder is another one who I think is a pretty safe selection. Who knows what he does with the bat, but I don't see him misfiring in both games. And then Chris Green is on the Sydney Showground deck, as you stated before. Even if he only produces a good score in one game, it's probably enough to cover him for both. And then Tanvir Sanger and Akil Hussain is my 4 and 5.
Yeah, fair enough. Swizz, who are
Yeah,
yours?
pretty similar. I want to really leave Warner off the list after he burnt me because I was debating between him and Alex Hells, and yeah, unfortunately, kind of batted for himself a bit with that 37 or 39. It did put them in a situation, but yeah, he's probably too good not to score well. But yeah, Sam's one because he's the one that's got the potential to be the highest scorer. I'll have Nathan McAndrew at 2. I just really rate the way he's been bowling lately. So, and then I think, the spinners are probably going to be next just because of that deck, in particular for the last game. So we'll go Sanger, Green, and as much as I want to put Sean Marsh in, I think I'm on that train there with Akil Hussain just because the conditions should be pretty good. For him, I'm just double check. Yeah, no, that's it. The hard thing with this round though is the Thunder play their first game at Manuka, so I think that would probably be more batting friendly, where then the second game is going to be more spinner friendly. So you're going to probably have 2 different kinds of conditions for both matches.
Yeah, and that's where I guess if you wanted to look at it from a different perspective, going with 4 Thunder players, 2 that are leaning more towards the first game and 2 that lean more towards the second game, as just a basic template, for example, that could be something a strategy that coaches employ. Because I'm just looking here at the most traded in. Alex Hales is the most traded in player this round, which I found surprising personally. He's traded in by 15% of SuperCoach. Daniel Sams is at 14.1% of SuperCoach traded in. And Nathan McAndrew's third at 10% of coaches are trading in Nathan McAndrew. So that's very interesting that they're the top 3. My personal top 5, though, again, like you both, I have Daniel Sams at number 1. Just that, guy that's finishes the innings with the bat. He bowls all the important overs with the ball. He's their best bowler, I'd say. Maybe Tanvir is probably their best bowler in reality, but probably their best pacer. Although that's not really a hard field to crack. Yeah, he's getting a lot of points with the ball, as he usually does, and he hasn't really fired with the bat yet, which makes me think Monica Stadium could be the game where he does it. Number 2 for me is David Warner. I've carped on a bit about Monica Oval, but like, I'll be shocked if he doesn't really do well at Monica, honestly. Like, it could be 220 plays 200. That's the sort of thing I'm thinking of here at Monica. So yeah, I don't think anyone doesn't own Matt Short, but if you don't own Matt Short, I'd be absolutely rocking in the corner.
Would you be tempted? This is the hard thing, where depending on where your ranking is here, where you start getting creative of your vice captain and captain this week. But Matt Short on Monica has to be tempting, even though he's only got the one game as a vice captain.
Absolutely. I was just thinking that myself. I was like, oh, you could do it. You could do it. You could, because he's
if you're outside the top 10, or if you're trying to get inside the top 1,000 and whatever, and that's where I'm really reassessing maybe a couple of my trades this week, because I'm like just inside. I think I'm 3,000 overall, so it's like, why not have a crack at something different and go against the grain, and hopefully that pays off. So if you're just outside the top 1,000 or even the top 100 and you're trying to have a crack, well, maybe fade hells, and as the player, maybe it is one of the spinners like Akeem comes in, and then vice captain Short, and hope the Thunder stink it up as they have been.
Very tempting. Damo, what do you think about the Matt Short shout?
He's 337k, so you'd need a lot of money in the bank to bring him in if you don't have him. But as a vice captaincy call, I think he could produce a massive score, but rolling the dice over a double game week play, I'm just not sure about. And if it doesn't pay off, then you're more likely to lose 1,000 places than gain 100 places. So it's kind of I know it's kind of painting the fences a little bit and seeing what comes off, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is it's a risky call, but like, if there's ever an opportunity for this to pay off, it would be at Monica Oval against one of the worst teams in the comp, being the most informed batter in the comp. The opportunity is there, but watch him get 5 off 10 with the bat. That would be classic SuperCoach.
It would be 100%.
Where was I? I had Sam's. I had Warner. Yes, number 3. I have Chris Green at number 3. I think, particularly at Showground, he's going to do well with the ball. I think that's a given. It's whether or not it's good for cricket, but not for SuperCoach, because that could happen. He could get like none for 20 off 4 when he's bowled really well, and what's that, like 30 points? Like, it's okay, but it's not lining the world up like you'd hope. But yeah, Chris Green could be the guy. He's my guy at number 3. Number 4, I have Akil Hussain. I think he's more of a genuine wicket taker than what Green is. And he's also batting at 7. So there's also that. He's really an all-rounder. So I really do like him as a purchase. Number 5, a bit controversially, I have Cameron Bancroft in. Now, it's not really because of his form. It's mainly because of the fact we've got a guy that has a pretty decent ceiling at 107,000. With openers that do like to get carried away early, So we could see them lose an early wicket by going too hard. Bancroft comes in, plays the steady hand throughout the innings. That's the sort of thing I could see happening in both those games, to be honest. And at such a cheap price, I think he's an underrated shout, personally.
Yeah, that's one I'm seriously considering at the moment. I think I've got just enough coin to probably do it. The interesting one with him is, I think everybody wants to see him and Warner get involved in a run out. That would be good TV.
That would be good TV. Oh, geez. Now I really hope that happens. Well, we'll wrap it up finally with what each of you are doing in round 9. So, Damo, run us through your initial trades going into the final round.
So initially right now, I've got Michael Nisa, Jake Fraser-McGurk, and Paul Walter out for Daniel Sams, David Warner, and Tanvir Sanger.
Yeah, fair enough. Yep, that's pretty good. Swiz, what have you got for us?
What have I got? At the moment, it's Richardson after that reversal of tie, very frustrating. Rogers and McDermott are out, and I think it's Hell, Sams. At the moment, I've got Hatchett, but it's probably going to become Bancroft. So, yeah, I'm kind of debating about that. But I've got a couple of players sitting on my bench where I'm like, they're probably not going to be used as a loophole. So I'm playing around with trying to how many of those guys, say, for example, Chris Jordan at the moment, he's 150K sitting there, probably not going to do a lot for me this week. So is it more worth trying to flick him off and get a bit more creative of my side? And at my ranking, it's kind of like, well, maybe I'll just throw everything out of the playbook and go a couple of these real spectacle picks if I can get something random happening. It might get me up close that top 1,000.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm in a similar line of thinking, although I haven't really currently with my initial trades. I haven't executed that way. I've gone with Spencer Johnson, Paul Walter, and Marcus Stoinis out. And I'm bringing in Daniel Sams, Chris Green, and Cameron Bancroft. I just saw the opportunity to flip Stoinis to Bancroft. They're the exact same price. One bats at 3, the other one bats at 5. One's playing twice as well. It made sense to me. But yeah, that's it for the Gun Show this season. Thanks for listening in. Thanks to Damo and Swiz for coming on. Thank you, lads.
Not a problem
Thanks
at
for
all.
having me.
No, they're all good. And I think we'll be doing an end of season review for the Big Bash SuperCoach. So tune in for that. But that's it for the AM shows. We will catch you next time. Cheers.